Hey guys, Dylan Tommy here. Gonna go ahead and do a fish room update. I thought I'd make a video of my method and exactly what natural aquatics means to me. But I've started it several times and haven't really been able to get my point across. Hopefully maybe in this video of me just cruising the fish room and checking out all these plants, I'll be able to kind of come across to you exactly what my style of fish keeping is. Which isn't necessarily low tech, it isn't necessarily the Wallstead method, but it's a form of natural fish keeping where the overall ecosystem is the main focus of the fish keeping, you know. Like the Wallstead method, I'm keeping a relatively low stock, densely planted tank, not adding any additional fertilizers, not adding any injected CO2, and really focusing in on balance in all these systems. And that's what's worked for me. Little overfeeding of the fish food, keeping the system, some might call a little dirty, helps find that balance. Having an understanding of the plants and the species you keep is another benefit to my method. It's understandable that certain plants will outcompete other plants for, you know, finite resources within the aquarium. So understanding what plants do that and maintaining the system stably as much as possible with that information, it's kind of part of my keeping, part of the ecology of a planted tank. All these systems are rich. Some have mud beds, some have just really established substrates. But they all provide enough nutrients to the aquatic plants to keep the system thriving, to keep it beneficial. I'm not an advocate for someone who doesn't do water changes. My style of water changes is most certainly el natural, because, you know, doing water changes mimics rainfall and simulates runoff and evaporation, and, you know, adding fresh H2O to any system not only is a health benefit for any inhabitants, fish, shrimp, but also for the aquatic plant growth. Granted, the aquatic plants help filter the system to some degree, but I do run a lot of biological media in my filters, make sure I keep a lot of surface area within the tank itself for nitrifying bacteria to fixate on. And like I said, focus on the overall system and not just the fish or a particular group of plants, but the entire habitat. I mean, that's natural aquatics to me. Beyond that, I also let, like I said, each plant do what they're going to do. Let nature run its course. If they're going to outcompete other lesser species in the tank, I allow it to happen. My tanks aren't, you know, finely scaped. I like the overgrown look. I feel that's what it looks like in the wild, is overgrown and allowing nature to completely take its course. But I do want to show you something in this tank which hasn't truly been revealed yet, except for my filming right now. I got some red Cryptwendetti right here. Remember all the Rotala that was in this tank, and I told you I had planned to pull it out? Well, it's gone. It's almost all gone. A couple stems of Ludwigia and this red Wendetti that's slowly acclimating to the conditions in my tank. And one thing with the acclimation process is you really want to be patient, because this plant right now is in a type of shock, coming out of different parameters, different conditions, different lighting parameters, and coming into a rich substrate and you know, total different conditions. It's shocked, it's lost all its red, and I have sufficient nutrients in my soil to, you know, get all these crypts growing beautiful and get that iron and get that redness right back into those plants and have them bloom. But right now they're just shocked because I planted them yesterday. My theory with this is, I told you the crypt was coming up right out of the substrate. Must have had like a rhizome. I thought it was a red Wendetti coming up there. I wasn't totally sure, but that's what I bought, was a pot of Wendetti, and it turned out to be about 30 plants once I broke up the rhizome and broke up the pot and decided to plant it in there. So we're gonna let the crypts come up, and we get this little rogue cryptochlorine down here. But they're throughout the tank. I wanted to break it up the green, break up the bright green with some red crypts. But it's all natural aquatics. Check out the swords. Completely growing on the runner. Using those roots that are exposed to the water column to just, you know, suck needed nutrients right from the system itself. I noticed that these swords kind of dangling here, being heavy root feeders, are competing with everything else. The Rotala's really been dying off. I have no more water sprite. The Hygrophila deformis has melted way back. It's simply, you know, not needed for the tank's balance. These swords and this dense vegetation is doing it. So overall balance in the aquarium is exactly my method. Low tech or high tech or not, I've never injected CO2. I've never continuously dosed liquid fertilizers. I've always, you know, seemed to find some kind of balance within these tanks and get plants growing. What I also believe about natural aquatics is fish exhibit certain behaviors when they're comfortable, when they feel like they're in the wild. Things that you don't often see in a tank that's less stimulating than a densely packed planted tank. Particularly breeding, courtship. As far as the Mbuna in the densely algae packed tank, I mean they're grazing on algae every night because it's available to them in that natural scape. Just kind of talking about the method real quick, the low-tech El Natural method in here. Check out this tank. I gotta show you guys, yeah, this is the newest tank. We got a daylight bulb on here, finally, and it's just blooming. I threw an extra bunch of Rotala stems inside that tank. And it's bright. I'm gonna show you this and tell you real quick, this is my biggest pet peeve in fish keeping. Is, you know, when you get water stuck behind the backdrop in the glass and it creates that neon look with the backdrop? That neon look is most certainly not El Natural. Huge pet peeve. But there's nothing in that tank except for some stems of Rotala, some wisteria. We're still getting it rolling, and I got my do-it-yourself prime bottle air filtration going on. These things work great. I was using the white bottles for a while and then decided that, hey, why don't I just use the black ones? My cichlid salt, my Malawi buffer comes in a black bottle like this, and it's about the same circumference as the prime bottles, what I was using initially, and we get some do-it-yourself air filtration in this tank. I'll keep rolling. I'm gonna check out this tank. This video is already getting pretty long, and I still want to kind of duck into the Mbuna tank. But I still have all 6 Tanganyikans in this tank. They've been doing very well, even Mr. Mean Old Brichardi, who I don't see right now. The system itself has needed a little care, simply because the added bioload of the additional fish. So I've done an extra water change on this tank, and I've made sure that any debris that was kind of hanging out, you know, on these plants was kind of knocked into the water column and either into the filter or allowed to dissolve and, you know, become organic material again for the system. A quick look in the green room. Everything's popping. Plants are looking good. They're all photosynthesizing, and I'm getting good growth. I get good water parameters in here. And like I said, unlike the Wallstead method, I'm continuously doing water changes, not big water changes, but 10 to 15% at least once a week. It freshens up the system. It, you know, allows for good lush plant growth. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I'm duck in and see the Africans in here, and we'll call it an update. I did want to kind of let you know exactly what I call natural aquatics. I gave you several examples in the Mbuna tank as far as allowing their digging to dictate the way the scape looks, and allowing this algae to just build up on the scape. Becomes a more rich, natural environment. And I always think the fish benefit from it. Thanks for hanging, guys. I'll keep you updated in the Planet Tank room. Y'all have a good one.